Alright, so before this video starts, I'd like to make a couple points. One, this video is completely unscripted, so, just because I don't want to, make a script for, points I'm most likely going to repeat that other people have done, so, yeah. Two is that there's going to be major spoilers for Steven Universe and Steven Universe Future, so I don't know, if you still want to watch it blindly, I don't suggest watching this video at all. I don't know, do whatever. And I guess I'll start. I didn't like the ending to Steven Universe Future. I hated it a lot. Only because, well, not only because, there's a lot of problems that I had with the ending. And, one of them was that, they built up the entire Steven Universe Future, the entire season for, for nothing. Because Steven was only corrupted for, 5-10 minutes. Why would you do that? Why would you, do that? Why would you build up something and, and it's you've reached that climax and then it's done. Yes, we reached it, we're done now. And it's you can't, it just shows poor writing. And it's I know the show writers aren't bad writers because they do so many, there are points that they do that are so good. Relationships and traumas, all of that feels real and organic, and it's I know they're not bad writers. Then why is the writing so bad? It's a conundrum. It's just, there's a lot of things that happen. There's an unnecessary drama created to, for no reason. When Steven and Greg went to Greg's parents' house, Steven's well, you grew up in a house, your parents, you have pictures of your parent, parents have pictures of you, and it's you had a room, and what if they loved you, and it's no, Steven, they had unopened letters, that they had unopened letters from Greg, and Steven acknowledged it. Greg didn't look happy in any photograph, and sure, they kept his childhood room clean, I guess, and kept it basically untouched, but what would be, if they really cared about him, they would have, opened those letters. They would have tried to contact him. They would have supported him for whatever he wanted to do. And, sure, maybe Steven was too upset to see that, but, Greg didn't also do the best parenting job. He's a good person, but, he didn't, even, I get at first not taking your child to a doctor or to have your child go to school because, just because he's a gem, but, they're kind of, after the whole town knew about the gems, at the point where the movie starts, in that 2-year gap, when Steven's, doing, diamond stuff, it's clear that he's been home, he hasn't been away from the planet in 2 years, he's been there. He could, in his free time, he could have, taken classes, even online classes, but he didn't. And he could have gone to the doctor to get his vaccines, because I'm pretty sure there's an episode of Steven Universe where he was sick. Because I have this memory of an episode like that. And I'm not going to rewatch the entire show just to make sure I'm correct, but, I'm pretty positive there was an episode where he was sick, so that means he's not really susceptible, but he's very susceptible to getting sick, so he should get vaccine. He should get vaccinated, I believe. But, and it's he hasn't, maybe, okay, let's say the gem, with his gem, he doesn't actually need to get vaccinated for, deadly diseases, whatever. That doesn't mean he doesn't need to go to a doctor. Greg and the gems are both guilty of this, and they could have, after the whole town knew about him and the other gems, fully, they could have taken him. Because they didn't think about how traumatic everything that he went through. They didn't think about how traumatic that was for him. And that is very upsetting, and that created, in doing that, created unnecessary drama in the show for Steven to snap at his dad, and his dad didn't do anything about it. Steven broke the van, and Greg's I'm proud of you. I wouldn't have been able to have the guts to, tell off my old man, and it's no, don't, sure, be Steven, We could have just been like, Steven, what you did was kind of wrong, destroy, like, you should, like, your feelings are justified, but, like, you shouldn't let your anger take over you. Like, there are things that, like, could have been said or done that didn't make Greg look like an ignorant asshole. But, whatever, we're just gonna go with it. Why not? Yeah. And then, like, the whole corruption thing, to begin with, like, there were set rules for corruption. And I'm gonna link some really good videos for some of my points, by the way. Sorry I didn't mention that before. Anyway, so, like, they had set rules, like, the Crewniverse had set rules for how corruption worked. And I think that's what they were trying to do with, like, like, volleyball, and, like, show, like, oh, there's a third way, and it's like, no, there were, like, 2 ways. But, like, volleyball's different. It's not really corruption. That's just trauma. And that's different than corruption. But whatever. Okay. Yeah, I didn't really want Steven to be corrupted, or at least in that way, only because it's such a new concept that they introduced with no explanation, and even the diamonds themselves were confused. And, like, the diamonds, like, Pearl was confused about volleyball, like, nothing was adding up and made sense, and, like, you shouldn't be, and, like, even if they were confused, they should have, like, come to a conclusion, but they didn't, and I thought they would have in the last episode, but they didn't. They brushed over it, and you can't do that. You can't do that. So, yeah, and it's like, if you are gonna corrupt Steven that way, sure, fine. Because, like, you had all this build-up, whatever. I get it, plot point. But it went from 100 to 0 real quick. Because, like, Steven, like, oh, look at this, it was all this build-up, like, gradual build-up, and all of a sudden, he reached his peak. Like, he's corrupted, and then it went straight downhill. Straight line, because he was only corrupted for such a short period of time, and that makes me so angry. Because it's like, why would you base this entire Steven Universe future on this one fact? And I get it, it was all about Steven and his traumas, and it's like, throughout the entire show, like, you weren't going over Steven's traumas. And it wasn't until, like, the tail ends they actually acknowledged that it was traumas that were causing it. And then they didn't, and then in the end, they just offhandedly mentioned that the gems were kind of worried about him the past couple months because of the incident, and that he can talk, and on the road he can talk to his therapist. But it's like, no, a couple months of therapy. Don't erase all the trauma that you have went through. And sure, you can talk to your therapist online, but it's better in person, because like, people crave people contact. But, like, whatever, I guess. It makes me so angry. Because the last episode was a filler, with nothing except saying goodbye as Steven's going on the road. There were plot points that were mentioned, like Bismuth and Pearl. Apparently, like, Bismuth has a crush on Pearl or something. And then, like, Steven proposed to Connie, and Connie didn't tell her mom. Not his mom. Jesus Christ. And, like, it just makes me upset. And then, like, the gems are like, we're just trying to be strong for you. And it's like, when Garnet, like, Ruby and Sapphire were telling Steven to propose to Connie, like, Sapphire was in, like, is doing a probability class, and she didn't tell Steven the probability of proposing to Connie. And, like, because Garnet said that all universe, like, there was not one instance that Steven wouldn't have proposed to Connie. But how many of those did Connie say no? And Sapphire could have told him that, so, like, he wouldn't, like, push it. But he did. Like, you can't blame Ruby. Ruby doesn't have future vision. Sapphire does. And when fused back to Garnet didn't even acknowledge that she screwed up. Well, both parts of her kind of screwed up. And it's like, I get it, like, fusions are, like, not really one person or 2 people, but it's like, you are still a combination of those 2 gems. She didn't even apologize to Steven. She kind of just, like, eat the cake won't make you feel better, but Steven's like, I know, but does it anyway. It's like, just by saying that, like, in all universes that it's gonna happen, like, it doesn't make it feel better. And that created an unnecessary drama. And yeah, didn't like that. Did not like that. And like, Steven pushing away the gems and the gems pushing too hard, that while that's because like the Crewniverse does do well with like writing out trauma in all the emotions in such a real and organic way, but the gems logically know they can't push things like this because it's happened before. Like, when Pearl pushed Amethyst too far, and Amethyst, like, in, like, what, season 1 or 2? And when they were in the kindergarten, Amethyst was like, I was just a mistake here, and that was only because Pearl kept pushing the issue. And it's like, it's happened before. And it's like, the same thing with Lapis, too. Like, you can't push. That's what Steven did going on the water, kind of pushed her issue. Like, sure, she ended up feeling better in the end, but that was, like, an off chance. Like, the gems, based off previous experiences, know that pushing an issue will just most likely make it worse, but they were pushing with Steven instead of, like, stepping back and saying, hey, just a reminder, we are worried about you and your mental health and your safety. And so, right, that you don't want to talk with us right now, but, like, if something's really bothering you, just, you know you can come to us, and we will wait for you. We will wait for you when you're ready to tell us. And that's a good opening, but, like, pushing it when Steven's not even ready to explain it himself, that causes unnecessary drama. And, like, sure, it's a real thing that happens, but it's, like, based off of what Gems previously know, like, it was a little kind of out of character for them, in my opinion, but whatever. The show, I just kind of walked away with a sour taste in my mouth, because there was just so much that they could have done that they didn't, and when they did, it's like, I don't know. There are things they could have done. Like, the show has a problem with, like, either having things take too long, or having things not be long enough. Like, the barn episodes. Those were forever. I guess in retrospect, compared to, like, other shows, they probably were, like, normal length of an arc, but, like, because Steven Universe has so many short arcs, like the Diamond Days arc, like, that's what kind of made it upsetting, really, because it's like, I guess that's why maybe a normal-sized arc might feel so long in a Steven Universe show, but, like, the barn episodes took too long, in my opinion, and then there was the Diamond Days, which didn't take long enough, because you can't tell me that in, like, 2 episodes that, like, yellow and blue are ready to, like, admit that Steven is not pink, and you're telling me in, like, less than 10 minutes that White is ready to admit the same thing? Like, sure, she had physical proof, but, like, it was so anticlimactic. And then a similar thing happened with Spinel in the movie, and it's like, that, I guess it was a movie, and it's not, like, several arcs, but, like, a lot of things happened that could have spent more time on, or, like, they could have, like, left the movie on a cliffhanger so you want to watch Steven Universe Future, but they didn't. That made me so angry. I'm not saying that the show is bad. There are just bad aspects of the show. But that doesn't mean the show as a whole is bad, because there were a lot of things I enjoyed about the show. Like, while some of the writing is bad, like, a lot of the things that they go through, like, and like they cover, is very real, and I really appreciate that in a show. And I appreciate how organic and real it feels. And a lot of the songs are very good, too, and if you have a musical show, like, if your shows are bad, the songs are bad, then you're gonna have a bad time, I guess. But, yeah, so a lot of the songs are good, and it's just, the characters, they have very good characters, like, and good character development. Well, in Peridot at least, because the Diamonds didn't have very good character development. That was too rushed. But yeah, so like the show, there are good things that happened in the show. But it's just, the ending was just terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. Like, Steven Universe Future as a whole was really bad. Because, like, there were so much things that they could have done, and that didn't make sense to me. But, for the sake of me, I guess, not repeating other people's points, I will link a couple videos down below that either talk about some of the things I talked about, or kind of things that explain more what I was trying to get and I didn't really get to. And yeah, so, that's the end of this. I guess I'll see you guys next time.